Hi everyone, I'm Josh and welcome to Josh Wright Piano TV. Today I wanted to share two concepts about burnout and discouragement that have really helped me and can hopefully help you if you are feeling down about your musical journey or something else in life. These two can be applied to things outside of music as well. The two concepts that I want to talk about are mini retirements and seeking novelty. So mini retirements, this was something I learned from Tim Ferriss. He's a very famous author. He wrote The 4-Hour Workweek, which sounds spammy, but it's a book about efficiency. It's actually really good. And he told the story. This was so funny. I don't know if it was in that book or on a podcast, but he said there was a guy who dreamed of retirement and he saved his whole life. And then he said, when I retire, I'm buying a yacht in the Caribbean. And he buys the yacht and spends all this money only to find out day 2 that he gets terribly seasick. So he said, I could have saved myself a lot of extra savings or extra effort in my working life knowing that, hey, I don't want that fancy yacht because I get seasick. So that was funny, but it's also very healthy to take a break. A lot of pianists, especially amateur pianists or people just starting out that are really excited about their journey, they will pack up a keyboard when they go on vacation and say, I have to keep practicing when they have no concerts or recitals or competitions coming up. Now, if you do have those coming up, maybe you do pack up the keyboard and keep practicing. But it's nice to step away once in a while from piano for maybe it's a day, maybe it's a week or two. I don't like to take months off. I miss it too much. But sometimes when I'm really feeling burnt out, I'll take a mini retirement where I say, hey, I'm not going to teach the next 3 days. I'm not going to record any videos for YouTube or Pro Practice or the VIP Masterclass series. I'm not going to practice for 3 days. I'm really going to spend time with my kids, or I'm going to go do a hobby I like doing, like going golfing or something like that. Those miniature retirements can really help to reset your mind. Even when you're thinking, I hate this, I hate what I'm doing, I'm so sick of it, I'm totally burnt out. Sometimes you just need a little reset, and you'll start to remember how much you actually love that thing you do. Or if you still hate it after your little break, maybe it's time to consider looking at it with fresh eyes, maybe switching teachers if you're talking about musical study, maybe looking at a different instrument if the instrument is frustrating the heck out of you. I know that's happened to me before, where I had an instrument that frustrated me with certain things. Being on an instrument that really helps me develop my skills can help tremendously. So looking at it with fresh eyes. And that leads beautifully into my next point, which is seek novelty. This is a tip that I learned from Jim Quick, an author who talks a lot about efficiency as well, and has a speed reading course. And I've listened to him. He's really fun to listen to, such a nice guy. And he discusses how the brain remembers things when novelty is present. So if you've been drilling the same passage of music over and over and over again, and your fingers are tight and you can't figure out what to do and you're so frustrated, you need to look at it with fresh eyes, kind of like we were talking about with the mini retirements. And often, I've always told my students, if you try changing 2 things when you cannot do something. Try changing up the fingering, so a different finger combination can really help, or organize it differently in your mind. So, for instance, if you're playing a descending arpeggio or descending broken chords, rather than thinking 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, you could think, and then 2 there, and then 2 there, and then 2 there, and then 2 there. I was actually just talking to my own teacher about that concept in a piece I'm working on right now. And it was amazing how much more fluid the passage became, not only musically, it sounded much better musically, but it also felt a lot better to organize it that way. Now, that's something she taught me when I was 9 years old. Susan Dolmeyer, she's amazing. I've studied with her for 27 years now. I'm not doing weekly lessons now. I'll go see her 4 or 5 or 6 times a year now. But I love playing for her. She always has amazing ideas. I play for my wife all the time. She has amazing ideas. And seeking their advice on things, they always bring a fresh, new perspective to things. When I'm in my practice and something isn't working, I take a step back rather than just hitting it harder and harder. And I'll say, how could I think about this differently? Could I lighten this passage up? Where could I put a different emotional nuance? Could I take time somewhere in here? And sometimes just taking time on a place magically loosens the entire passage up. It's quite extraordinary. So stuff I've struggled with over and over and over again. I remember on the opening of the double thirds, that's such a hard opening. Babayan told me, he said, think of the wind. Think of coming in and then going back out. And something I could never play before. I'd always get jumbled. I could finally do it. And it was amazing. I had struggled with that skill for years and years. I had to ultimately change the fingering on that too. I'm not good with a standard fingering like 1-3-2-5 or 1-4-2-5. I'm okay at that one. 2-4-1-5 was the thing that loosened me up to play it. Now, I'm still not nearly as fast as Joseph Levine or some of those amazing recordings of that piece, but I could at least play it in a tempo that was respectable, not embarrassing. So, and I learned that fingering from one of my classmates that I didn't even really know at the University of Michigan. She was, I think, a freshman or sophomore, and Logan Skelton knew that it bugged me, that he knew I was bugged that I couldn't play that piece. So in a studio class, he said, this girl, she's going to play the Chopin Etude Opus 25, number 6 for Josh. And it bugged me so much because she just played it like the wind. And I'm like, oh, thank you for reinstilling my frustration. And he laughed and we had a good time. I had a good sense of humor about it. I wasn't actually frustrated and mad. It was just a funny joke. But I went to that girl after and I said, any thoughts on what the heck is wrong with my hand? And she said, oh, I know. She's like, I can't play it with the standard fingering either. I have to do 2-4-1-5. And I tried it for about 3 or 4 days, and I was probably 26 or 27 at the time. I had struggled with that since age 14. So 12 years of searching, she gives this fingering that I never would have thought of, an inverted fingering using 4-5, which sounds like it wouldn't work, but it worked. And I was like, oh, yes, the heavens have opened. It was quite amazing. That's just one silly example, but those types of things happen all the time in a much less dramatic way. You don't usually have to search for a decade like, you know, the idiot I was. I never tried that fingering. Try it out. Try something different, or try organizing it. Another thing that can help is thinking just what Susan was saying, and then 2 there, and then 2 there, and then 2 there, versus 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That can really set the hand in for whatever reason, but always overlapping it into the next phrase. That's an easy kind of primer for you guys to think about in your mind. How can I overlap phrasing or overlap figurations? That's a way of thinking about something with novelty. Another way of seeking novelty is to listen to a lot of great recordings. Another fun example, I was playing the Opus 59 mazurkas. I'll probably be doing tutorials on those in the next year or so, the Chopin Opus 59 mazurkas, which I love. And I never loved the way I played them, and I took them to Logan. I was getting ready for the National Chopin competition in 2015, and he said, these are pretty good, but you don't have your usual magic with these. Like, I need you to go home and really put a lot more into this. So I just started digging through recordings, and I found the Argerich recordings, and I loved her sense of rubato. I just started imitating her in my practice. I'd listen to a passage, then I'd play it back exactly like she did. And then I'd play another passage and play it back exactly like she did. And that is a way to take a lesson from Argerich or Rubinstein, or even pianists. Well, obviously Rubinstein's passed away, but if you want to take a lesson with Joseph Levine or Joseph Hoffman or Ignaz Friedman or whoever it might be, you can take a lesson with them by doing stuff like that. And it was amazing. I went back the next week. He's like, what in the world did you do? These went from very mediocre to these are some of the best mazurkas I've heard. And I remember at the National Chopin competition, one of the judges came up and he said, oh my gosh, when you started playing those mazurkas, we were all floored. Of course, we had to give you the best mazurka prize. And it came from a novel idea of just imitating Argerich, playing it back, playing her recording, and then playing it back. And that leads, man, I'm just going on forever here, but another story that leads into that story leads into beautifully is Logan told me, I think at the same time, I shared with him that I had done that with the Argerich recording. He's like, I did something very similar when I was younger. I loved the Richter recording of Prokofiev 7. He said I would copy every single thing he did. And I was like, oh, good. I did something that, was successful for Logan when he was younger. And he said, I did that for weeks and I think even months. And then I stopped the recordings because I was like, I'm literally just becoming a copycat of Richter. So I need to develop my own ideas. And after a few months, I said, let me turn that Richter recording on. I'm pretty sure I probably still have most of the same ideas that I copied from him. And he said, I sounded completely different. Sometimes those recordings or those new ideas are just the catalyst for change. You're not going to always do it that way, but it's a pathway to open up your mind to new possibilities that then lead you to a destination that you may not have thought of. So I related all of these stories today to music, but you can really apply these with any artistic endeavor in life. It doesn't even have to be artistic. It could be any endeavor. Taking those mini retirements and then seeking novelty in a variety of ways can re-stimulate your mind to avoid that burnout, avoid discouragement, and kind of breathe a breath of fresh new life into you. So I hope some of you could benefit from those ideas. I like to share these ideas as I'm thinking about them, as they personally have benefited me. It's my goal with this channel to share as much wisdom as I can before I die, so that hopefully some of the pain and frustration of a journey in music can be softened or alleviated by making sure that you guys don't have to go through all the stupid mistakes that I went through. So that's my goal. Hopefully it's helping some of you. If you haven't already subscribed to this channel, please hit that subscribe button and like this video. That helps to share it with more people. Again, the goal is to reach as many people as possible with some of these ideas that have graciously been given to me by my teachers. I know most people don't have access to teachers of the quality of Susan Duhlmeyer or Logan Skelton or Sergei Babayan. I think they're some of the best in the world, if not the best. I think they're the best because I just love them so much. So I try to spread as much of that as possible to each of you, and also some of my own personal discoveries. I'll also leave a few links for my paid courses in the description below, as well as a free webinar containing 10 of my favorite tips to take your playing to a higher level. If you haven't already watched that, or if it's been a while since you watched it, go review that. These are concepts that I use every day in my own practicing and in my teaching. Lastly, I will leave a link to my gear kit, all the lighting, cameras, microphones, and other gear that I use in this studio to produce these videos, to teach online lessons, and much more in case you are also a musician or wanting to create a similar setup. Have a great week. Good luck in your practice sessions.